Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
I'm your host, Con John Turk, and on this episode of the Blind Apex Podcast, we're talking about insurance. I have insurance, but I don't know anything about it. So joining me is Jeff Hall, Compliance Director of the NASA Mid-Atlantic region and insurance guy. But I contacted him and he set me up. So, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Con. Happy to be here.
So I appreciate this because everything we do has a value to it, right? We're sitting in the compliance RV. This is pleasure, not business. Thank God. When you come here for business, it's a different conversation. But we'll get into that later. You purchase it for a certain price, and most states require insurance, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know in Virginia, I think you can pay $400, $700. I can't remember. I was at the DMV a month ago, but I should know. It said you can pay this amount and be uninsured. I think that's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's an asset. Some people say it's a depreciating asset. I guess during COVID it wasn't. It just depends on what you own and what you have, but you want to always make sure that you're protecting your assets. And your track car and your race car are assets you should protect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So before we dive down that rabbit hole, Jeff, let's talk about your background in racing, because you're not just an insurance guy and you're not just the guy with the big ruler smacking hands in compliance. So let's talk about your background in racing and then give us your background in insurance.
Super. I started a lot of years ago. I got a lot of gray hair. And I started back in the days, my younger brother had lived out in Seattle and moved back to the East Coast and convinced me we needed to build some of these spec E30 cars and go racing with this group, NASA. So we started, being from North Carolina, we started with NASA Southeast and raced a lot of years down in NASA Southeast with two spec E30 cars. We made the jump over to NASA Mid-Atlantic after probably 6-8 years because we're very close to VIR and we wanted to do more up here. So we ran that way a while. And then Spec E46 came about, and I was an early adopter to that series. And a pretty well-known builder down in North Carolina. My car was the first he built, and then I had a second, and now I've got a third, and it just sort of evolved from there. At this point, some of my other track duties have cut into my racing, so I've sort of set that aside, but have a lot of years of racing, have a lot of years experiencing negative outcomes of behavior on track, whether it was stepping over the rule that the line that the rules present or having damage to a car. So when I speak about insurance and insuring your toys at the track, it's because I've experienced it.
Yeah, luckily I've had some rubbing, rubbing is racing, but no catastrophic issues. But I'm still new to this, so newish. Starting year 5 racing, and I spent 10-ish years in the tech shed and a couple of years flagging, and I've seen a lot of damage in my years.
And in the tech shed, I'm sure, I remember those years, and it was a little less rubbing and wrecking back then than it seems to be right now. Right now, things have gotten pretty active, and I can tell you, Con, I wouldn't take my car out for HPDE 1 without having it insured these days.
I didn't know. I went through the HPDE ladder with NASA 1.5 times. Like I made it through Group 2 solo, and then I had to hang it up, and then I came back and I put myself back in one, right?
Yep.
You know, they asked me, they were like, you have plenty of track time. Do you want to? And I was like, no, I'd rather have some instruction and learn. And so I went through it again, and I didn't even know it was an option. So
yeah, it's interesting because most of the drivers out there, in spite of the fact that, you know, there's announcements, you'll see Haggerty posted a lot of places, you'll see Lockton posted a lot of places. The drivers don't make the connection to the fact that they can buy insurance, different kinds of insurance to cover different exposures for their equipment. And when I say equipment, it's broader than just your car. It's your spares, it's your trailer, it's all the different pieces that go into it. And it really came home to me back quite a few years ago. We were at Summit Point, and we had a HPDE out on track where there was a pretty catastrophic accident. And a few of us were standing around after the track went green again. And a young man walked up to us and announced that he had been the driver of that car. And he was not in tears, but close. And he shared with us that he had yet to make the first payment on his brand new Subaru.
Oh, wow.
And I, of course, being the guy I was, said, well, I hope you had insurance. And that's when he sort of started to well up a little bit, because he did not, and he didn't know he could. So it's, you know, it's been kind of a mission of mine, but one that I don't push too hard, because people come here not to hear about insurance. But I try to help people whenever. Early on, my brother and I would do, when we would go with different groups, we would offer the organizer, you know, that we'd do a class on track day insurance and things like that. And every organizer said, sure. And we'd go into a room and we'd sit by ourselves through the whole hour, and nobody would come in.
Right.
Because nobody comes to the track to go into a seminar about insurance. Every now and then we'd have one guy show up at the motorhome and say, hey, tell me about it. And, you know, typically they'd buy it, but it's out there and it should be utilized a lot more.
Right. And to be clear, this is not your traditional State Farm, Geico
Absolutely
insurance
not.
That your street car on the street carries. This is an additional rider for the event.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. I've been an independent agent for 40 plus years. And I can get to a lot of different companies, and pretty much every one of those companies that I work with on a daily basis to do your homeowners, to do your business, to do your personal cars, has some kind of exclusion or some kind of mechanisms built in to avoid insuring track or even possibly performance-oriented driving exposures. Now, I'll say that, but there are stories out there, and they're all over the internet, where somebody's turned in a claim that happened at the track to their carrier, whoever it may be, ABC and XYZ, and it's been paid. The problem is, and that's great, I'm glad that it gets paid, and a lot of companies will still take a pretty lenient view of high performance drivers ed, with the idea of learning car performance a little better and becoming a better driver. But typically in every one of those cases, you find that you're canceled shortly thereafter, and it becomes much more difficult for you to secure insurance on your vehicles.
Yeah. And from back in my day, I've seen guys, a yellow Corvette comes to mind just because of how it was, but and the guy he wrecked on track. EV drugged them off the track. He was busy getting his quick detail out to get the dust off from around his painter's tape numbers. and then tried to pay EV to drag the car out to a local road that was around the track.
Yeah.
And I'm standing in the tech shed just going, that's completely insurance fraud.
Yeah.
So getting busted for that's way worse than writing off your Corvette.
Yeah, I'm not an attorney, but I can tell you there's not a state in our country that looks fondly upon insurance fraud.
Right.
And your point is exactly right. That Corvette may have been a brand new C8 Z06. It's still, you will do time for stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, it's not worth it. Just not worth it.
Yeah. Time is money, especially time when you're in the pen.
Yes.
So it's a different kind of life and time.
I don't know. Do you know that, Con, for a fact? First-hand experience?
No first-hand experience, okay. Thank God. But if maybe they over-dramatize it on TV, but
it don't look like fun.
50% of that, it's still not fun enough for me, right? So
yeah.
And you're not getting back out on track while you're there.
No.
We were talking earlier, and you're here, and you have a car here. So you have a street car here.
Yes.
And you're doing a 3-day event with NASA.
Yep.
Just ballpark. What rates are we talking about?
So it's interesting. They're kind of all over.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it depends on things. Of course, they go through underwriting.
Mm-hmm.
So association, what group you're with, what track you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, the third variable that really comes into play is the value you're insuring for. Okay. Then you've got questions of what deductible do you want? Do you want a 10% or 15% deductible? There is a carrier out there right now that will include liability insurance, which we can talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of variables, but my particular situation this weekend, I'm driving a Mini Cooper that I've been building on. A friend of mine's been doing some work on for me, and it's fun little car, but it's only $40,000. Okay, we put a bunch.
But it's a fancy, rare one.
But it's not the GP, but it's a pretty nice little track car. I insured it for $40,000, and my weekend rate to insure it is $200. I think it's $224 for the weekend, which in my mind is cheap comfort. Even though it's drizzling rain now and I haven't been out this afternoon, I went out a couple of sessions earlier, and at $224, I mean, that's not even what I pay for a tire. So, everything's got to be relative. And this is not a cheap sport, so don't expect to get cheap insurance. You'll pay for it in the long run.
I would actually beg to differ, because I carry a rider on my race car, which is absolutely different than the street car coverage.
Yep.
The race car coverage will be storage, paddock, and transport, or some
off track.
Yeah, all off track issues are covered. Well, I had the option to add the trailer. My trailer's covered by the same company that covers my truck.
Yep.
You can add, subtract all you want. You can shop around, and I implore people to shop around for insurance in general. So
absolutely.
But I think my $35,000 coverage on my race car only is, I think I paid $140 for the year.
So a couple of things. Yes, shop around. Every company has a sweet spot. The company I went with, the sweet spot might be a $40,000 Mini Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Another company might be your $150,000 Z06.
Mm-hmm.
Another company might be your Senna. Okay. It could be anything. So absolutely shop around, and it depends on what part of the country you're in and what tracks you're going to. The other thing is that I'd make clear right here is we are talking about two different kinds of insurance.
Yes.
For my $224 for this weekend, I am getting physical damage insurance, which means that if I bury that little Mini Cooper into a tire wall and drag it out, somebody is going to pay to repair or replace it.
Mhm.
Your coverage, which is often referred to as STP, storage, transit, and paddock, or off track, is everything else other than on track. So you flip your trailer going down the road, and the car gets destroyed. You're parked at the Motel 6 and somebody backs up to your trailer and steals the whole rig.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody breaks into your shop and steals your rig and all your parts. That's that coverage. I, of course, being a good insurance consumer and salesman to myself, carry both.
Right.
So I buy the event coverage when I'm going to an event, and that's typically event specific.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend, you put in the dates, the 15th through the whatever. The other policy, the STP, the off track, is typically purchased in an annual format.
Okay.
And the thing about the off-track coverage is you can include your spares, you can include your trailer, you can include tools that might come into play. And what I encourage people to do is think about worst case scenario. What's in your 40-foot enclosed trailer when you drive from Chicago to Sebring? And you stop halfway there and somebody can hook up and steal your whole trailer or your truck in your trailer.
Yep.
We all know your truck's insured. And yeah, most people insure their trailer, but the cargo inside is typically not covered.
Yeah. So for me, I'm the poor kid with the open trailer. So the tools are in my truck. My insurance policy covers that. But you better read it. You should read your insurance policies, people, like all of them.
Yes.
Sure.
And if you have an agent, and I see this a lot, and I love my fellow agents, and the industry is full of great, great people who are experts on most all subjects. There's not many who are experts on track insurance.
Mm-hmm.
If they tell you something, and the internet or your good friends that you go to track with tell you it doesn't sound right, get it in writing from someone.
Right.
Even if it's the agent, because he might have a little leverage to, get it paid if something happens. But get it in writing if you can.
And he said he wasn't a lawyer. Look at you. Doling out advice. Advice.
I wish I had $100 for every contract I've written over the last 40 years. Lawyers don't write contracts anymore. They let insurance agents do it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure there's clarity. So who can get this comprehensive on-track insurance?
So that's a great question.
I'm sure it varies from insurer to insurer, but in general, what?
Well, I've spent 40 years telling people that there's not anything that I can't insure. Okay? I've insured pro race teams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
On track?
On track.
Oof.
Okay?
I hate to see that premium.
You better bring your checkbook because that's going to be big. 99.9% of people who are going to get on-track coverage,
mm-hmm.
and I will never say 100%, but most of those people are HPDE student drivers.
Okay.
There are a number of carriers out there who will extend that coverage to TT drivers that are participating in time trials. The vast majority of people who buy on-track coverage are HPDE students or time trial drivers. You can buy, it is very expensive to insure a race car. You won't do it.
I won't. No.
Yeah, I won't do it. I've never done it. That doesn't mean that you can't insure your race car on track if all you're doing is HPDE. I've taken my race car over the years to many different organizations that just have track days and drive my race car and, insure it that way. So on-track coverage is the most restrictive, and it's typically for a student driver. Think of it that way. Off-track and storage coverage, STP, off-track coverage in general, is pretty much anybody who wants it. Okay. And as Con mentioned, as you mentioned, you can do just your car. You can do your car and your trailers. You can do any combination. And it is in my opinion, very affordable.
Spares, tools,
your driving suit, gear like that. You just kind of have to schedule it. The third kind of coverage, which is the one that's talked about the least, is the third-party liability coverage. And the reason it's talked about the least is because to this point in time, pretty much all of us that go to the track sign at least one waiver. This weekend we have signed 2, but we only got 1 wristband. So I feel a little cheated there, but
we get enough wristbands.
Yes,
Tomorrow we're going to get another one.
I have a whole bouquet by the time it's done. But liability insurance, I have seen some situations where drivers wish they had it. I have seen at least one situation where their personal auto carrier gave them some coverage. But it is probably the least utilized. As of right now, I only know of one carrier that's offering it right now. And I like it, but I don't like it because the concept, when you sign up for insurance like that, you're basically saying, oh, I'm not sure these waivers work. And I think that the waivers to this point have been very effective in motorsports.
Okay. So let's think of a hypothetical situation where the liability would come into play.
Well, anybody can sue for anything.
Okay. We're a litigious society.
We are a litigious society, extremely. Yeah. It's to the point where Europeans come over and they say, "Oh, well, I don't know how you guys can do it."
Yeah. Where's the American dream?
We're there. We are the American dream or nightmare. So take any situation. I'm going into turn 1 and I brake late and I collect another car.
Okay.
He can sue me for that.
Okay.
Now, the reality of the thing is it's going to likely be small claims. It's not going to, you're not going to get an attorney involved or anything like that, but you certainly can see that happening. Fatalities. I think that a lot of times if you have track employees, EV people that get injured, depending on what venue you're at, what state, what laws, govern these sorts of things, their heirs or themselves could sue a driver. It is as broad as you want to make it.
Okay.
I, as compliance director, I've had 2 drivers in my motorhome, and I've had one look at the other and say, "I'm going to sue you." And I throw my arm around that guy and we take a walk and I try to cool him down. To this point, I have not had anybody sue anybody yet on my watch. But it could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen very easily. The closest I've been involved in was a fatality where the heirs were trying to sue everybody involved. Track, organizer, instructor, everybody involved.
Everybody.
Yeah. And so, it depends on the situation. In my life as an insurance professional, I have done a lot of casualty insurance. Casualty is liability. And one of the things I was very active in for a lot of years was insuring ski resorts all over the country. At one point, I handled 140 ski resorts in the U.S. I learned a lot about what you could sue people for and how you could be held responsible and how you could, all these different things. So, to this point, again, I would say motorsports has been very fortunate that we all come with our heads screwed on right and share that information with everybody around us. And quite honestly, our safety is very good. Our safety cars today are very, very safe. Even your road car out on VIR right now, typically are pretty doggone good. Much better than the underage snowboarder shooting down the mountain at Snowmass Ski Resort and clipping my wife in the back or something like that. Right. So, we've got some natural, and it reminds me of where skiing was 35 years ago. Nobody got sued. Now, you open the paper during the winter and somebody's getting sued. So, I hope it's not a foretelling of what comes to motorsports, but who knows?
I was going to ask you if your crystal ball.
I don't have a crystal ball.
The little magic 8 ball.
If I did, I wouldn't be in insurance, and I sure as hell wouldn't be the compliance director here. So,
also, the threats over here. I'm going to sue you. That's way better than the tech shed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's we get. By the time they get here, you guys at Tech are pretty much done with them, and they're pretty much on full boil by the time they get here.
Well, I don't know about that. I think we cool them off for you.
Yeah, you help.
I literally had one guy, we were at a small table because we don't have huge tables in the tech shed, and obviously they had hit each other, and so they were there to fill body contacts, and they were being a little snarky, so I started walking closer, and one guy was like, I'm going to beat your... And I was like, gentlemen, if we're fighting, I get to play.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? So
yeah, get in the party.
Yeah.
Well, and having Justin Colbert in Tech,
that helps now.
Who's about 6'20" and weighs about 620. He will cool off a lot of hotheads pretty quick, so...
Yeah, but when the 5'0" guy is ecstatic to join in, you might want to check that guy too.
That's true. Con, I've seen you get your dander up. So.
Oh yeah. So we've talked about the on-track coverage, and we've gotten into the off-track coverage. What kind of? I don't know. What kind of it? It's new to me, right?
Yeah.
It's new to me. I contacted you a couple of years ago with the new car because it was a significant portion of my savings account that went into building this new car. I'm anti-credit card. Don't build your race cars on credit card. That makes your life on track will be very limited.
Yes.
Because the credit cards will catch you. You won't. So that's my financial advice.
There you go.
That's
good
not
advice.
Real advice, but don't do it. Anyway, use cash use it properly. Don't use credit because some credit's out there to screw you anyway. But anyway, I wanted to insure this car because, we put big money.
Yeah.
For me, money. I was going to buy it. If the old car didn't die, I was going to upgrade my truck, buy an enclosed trailer, have money left over, maybe put an AIM in my car, do all this stuff. Like the amount of money that I poured in was new truck money, new aluminum trailer money, high-end data money, a lot of money that we could have done. And sitting at this table learning that I can insure my race car during my practice days, because I do them at HPDE events.
Yeah.
I do them that's the easiest, most convenient place to go.
Which is where most people do it.
Right.
I mean, gosh, how many pro teams have we seen down here doing open track events because 2 weeks later they're coming to VIR for a race? So they come, they don't race with us, but they do HPDE to learn the track and to shake down their car and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even at Summit Point, there's occasionally groups that run on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
The pro teams are there.
Yep.
It's going to be some sort of club and the multi-million-dollar hauler with multi-million-dollar cars and engineers. And you're like, whoa, what am I doing here? You know, like I just came here to shake down a car.
You're there with BMW Club and a bunch of other hacks with open steel trailers. And here comes,
And then they're got to shut the track down so they can drive across, you know, and
here comes Penske.
Right. And then there's, you know, some top secret car and it's all camoed out. Like these things occur and you're on track with those people.
Yep.
And maybe they are insuring their stuff. Probably. I don't know. I saw something from Joe Gibbs Racing about how you could never insure NASCAR. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure you could for a price, but they wouldn't want that price.
Right.
But if I can insure mine on a practice day where I'm confident in what my car can do, but I'm there to push some of the limits.
Yep.
I'm there with strangers. I personally love the guys I race with because we trust each other. We respect each other, right?
Yep.
But you're around strangers, so things happen, you know?
Yeah.
I know my guys are built correctly and built to the rules, and having engine problems is few and far between.
Yep.
The other classes, not so much, but a track day, please.
Yeah.
You know, I don't trust those guys not to grenade going into turn one somewhere.
Right.
So accidents happen.
Absolutely.
I even, prime example, I wish I would have had, well, I mean, nothing happened, but it would have been peace of mind. 2 years ago now, NASA Mid-Atlantic Fall Finale, it's an HPDE event.
Mm-hmm.
I had a brand new brake kit that I was prototyping for a company, and the crossover balancing pipe on my AP calipers, brand name, not cheap caliper, broke going into turn one. And I need this liability stuff probably because there was a GT350 in front of me, and right in front of him was like a 68 fastback race car, vintage race car, and that my car was not stopping. Like pumping. I don't know how I made turn one, but I had no brakes. You pump. We got back to the paddock, ripped that wheel off, and you pump, and it would just go
squirt.
Yeah,
right
out of the crossover
Golly.
pipe. And I'm like, I could have just totaled this car, you know,
and somebody else's car,
and two other cars, which are worth way more than my car. Right. So, it's Iowa.
You know, you don't see. I haven't seen, even in compliance, I haven't seen anybody come in and say, well, you wrecked my car, you have to pay for it. Again, I think that we all come to the track knowing the risks, but I can envision many scenarios. Like you said, you take out that vintage Mustang, somebody's going to be pissed. Yeah.
Well, so I bring a lot of new people to the track just because they want to come see my neighbors, my family, my extended family. They come to the track for the first time. And every time the new person goes, what happens if somebody hits you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's on me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What happens if you run into somebody else? Well, my damage is my fault. Or mine to deal with, not fault. Let's not talk fault. My damage is mine to deal with, and their damage is theirs to deal with. And they're like, wow, that's a terrible thing. And I was like, yeah, but people would go bankrupt in the wrong situation, you know? And so we all come out and we have a level of risk, okay? This insurance is there to supplement that risk. We're live at the racetrack in the most popular RV in the world, so we get visitors.
Pregnant pause. Yeah, what can I say?
There's a peace of mind that comes with carrying it, and there's a level of protection to the assets that you've invested so much money into that it would be dumb, for lack of a better word, to not investigate it. Right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's very helpful. I have a young friend who I've been coming to the track with for years, and for whatever reason, I am dumb enough to supply a car for he and a couple of other young friends to drive on track. Well, one weekend he was driving a very nice car of mine on track, and it was kind of a tricky car to drive on track, and it ended up in a tire wall and had pretty substantial damage.
So you couldn't just buff off the marks?
No, there's no buffing that one away. There are a lot of people sitting in here shaking their head no right now, including the young man. But fortunately, when I had bought the insurance for that weekend's event, I had added him as an additional driver. So we didn't have to play any games. We didn't have to do anything fraudulent or anything.
Right.
We just loaded it on the trailer. I took it home, and the car was, because it was an older car that you couldn't get parts for and things like that, the carrier totaled it out and gave me a check within a week. No hard feelings. I expect these things to happen. So I come prepared for them to happen. They're now driving a car that isn't worth nearly as much money. So I don't bother to insure that because it's kind of throwaway, and they keep breaking it anyway.
You learned your lessons.
I have learned my lesson. Yeah. Yes, I have.
Yeah. I know so many people over the years that have had accidents leaving the track with their race cars, had accidents leaving in their street cars.
Yep.
You're tired at the end of the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And you're strapping your whatever several thousand, 10,000 plus pounds usually together, and you're rolling down the road, hopefully a couple hours away, sometimes significantly longer,
Yeah.
And there's just a level of risk that people need to realize they're taking. We do it. There's a level of risk we accept when we go out on track, but we don't have to accept all of that.
That's right.
When you have insurance, and you don't have to accept all of it in transport either.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
well, and I think that, you've done a good job. Your podcast does a good job of spreading the information. And just if we get one guy, like the young guy that totaled his Subaru, that hadn't even made his first payment, if we can get one guy to buy a policy from one of these guys, or gal, person, driver, then it's been a good thing, and it'll spread from there. And all you have to do is get on Google or whatever your search engine is and type in racetrack insurance, and they'll all pop up there. And there's a lot of brokers, there's a lot of agents, there's multiple companies, and just, start the search. It's well worth your time and energy.
Yeah. I can tell you my local State Farm agent, that's just who we have. My wife's had them forever. I called and I was like, hey, trying to insure my race car. She's like, yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah.
I was like, do you have a name? No. Okay.
And a lot of them will do that because they don't want any associated exposure to it. And that's fine. I wasn't that kind of agent. I always took that sort of stuff on as a challenge. How do you insure a ski resort? Well, I don't know, but let me find out. And how to insure whitewater rafting, or probably the best one was bungee jumping. I wrote a bunch of bungee jumping guys back in the day. So, it's out there. You just have to look for it.
Yep.
And that's what I would tell people. And as the compliance director, like you said, we take on enough risk here. We don't need the financial risk of physical damage because we're out with HPDE one group shaking down our car before tomorrow's race. If you can do some, and I am quite sure if you insured your race car for this weekend, and you wrecked it during HPDE or open practice today, today's Friday, even though you're racing it tomorrow, you wouldn't have any coverage tomorrow, but you probably would today.
Right.
So yeah, that's the way you got to look at it. But you need to ask questions. You need to get things in writing, and you need to look at the fine print. I personally go with the most reputable, one of the most reputable carriers out there. I like to support those that support the organizations that I'm involved with, and most organizations of any size have someone who's participating with them. So go to your sponsor, if it's NASA, if it's BMW Club, whoever it is, and support those guys, because they're making it more affordable for us to do what we do.
Right. I've had multiple race car carriers, and
we're not naming names, are we?
I mean, you already named Haggerty once.
Oh, did
and
I?
You named,
but I said Lockton
also.
I said Lockton.
Yeah. Equal
Open Track.
Opportunity.
Open Track is another one.
Okay.
And Open Track is the one that does have the liability insurance as part of their package. As of right now, to the best of my knowledge, as of this past week, nobody else is offering it right now. But again, like I said, liability insurance is something we may see more need for. But definitely the physical damage.
Right. Well, do you think we covered everything for insurance?
I think we did. Do we want to talk about compliance? No.
Other than you knuckleheaded Thunder kids get to mess with me this weekend.
It's very nice to see you in the RV for a change without me having to slap your wrist.
Yeah. We've had.
Actually, you're a pretty.
I'm decent.
I'll go on the record as saying you probably haven't really been here that much.
I've been here one time.
One time,
and it's my. I'll own it. It was my fault. It was circumstance, but I put myself in that circumstance, and so basically I was slow, and somebody decided to put NPO ones in our group.
Yes, I remember.
And we became flag number 2, which I was okay with.
Yeah,
I can count as high as 2.
That's
if we
good.
go to flag 3, I might have to throw in a towel.
Things get complicated.
It gets complicated, but what happened was, I guess the NPO ones didn't cone up and they stopped early. And so we all stopped. But since I was slow and in the back, I was down the hill. I couldn't see what was going on. And so we traveled a significant distance, stopped, and I saw a green flag and nobody was moving, but I wasn't stopping because if I can get out in front of these knuckleheads, I will. And I was wrong. Okay. Yeah. I'll happily come over here and be like, yeah, that's my fault. You know,
I don't think I beat on you too badly, did I?
No. But
I will put in a plug as the compliance director here. Read the rules. If you're a racer, and I'll speak specifically to racers, probably my biggest issue over the last 10 years as the race director of compliance is the number of veteran racers who don't know the rules.
Yeah.
And will actually sit in my RV and argue the rules with me.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's kind of weird, isn't it? But
bring your CCR with you because I'll have mine and we can compare notes.
Yeah, we'll compare. And you may have an old version because I may change it right now. No, but really, it's a great sport. It's fun. There's no excuse for going out and doing knucklehead stuff, but there are ways to mitigate it. And, track day insurance, off-track insurance, those are 2 really useful tools that you guys all ought to be looking at.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show.
My pleasure. It kept a few people out of the motorhome for a couple extra minutes.
Man, this is the busiest place in the paddock. I'm telling you right now.
What does that mean? What does that say about us here?
I don't know. I haven't seen anybody come in to yell or argue, but they all need to ask you questions.
Well, today is open practice, and test and tune.
Well, tomorrow I hope nobody knocks on your door.
Yeah, from your mouth to God's ear, okay? Because I would like that too. I would love to be able to take a nap.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
You're asking for too much.
Yeah, too much.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.